Well, hopefully this all works.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's going to trip me out looking at my computer and not seeing the mic audio move.
Yeah,
I'm
just
already
looking at that
freaked
as well.
out by that, but that's how it's set up. As long as you're seeing things on my
Yeah, it's
Zoom.
showing up on the Zoom.
Yeah, it doesn't need to show up big because, again, that can all be dealt with in post.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, this is going to annoy me. There we go. I feel better.
Cool.
Breaking in the new mic. Anyways.
Yeah. Let me know when you're ready.
This is all part of the intro.
Okay.
Let's be real. Make it fun.
Okay. Yeah. Who am I? For those who don't know, who am I here with? What do you do?
You're in my studio, man. I was going to ask you who you are, but I guess if this is your first time hearing of me, I'm Theo. I normally look taller, but I'm in the short chair, and I gave him the tall one.
Kind of make me look taller.
Yeah. I talk about software dev stuff on YouTube. I run a company. I do a lot of investing. I'm just kind of all of the SF stereotypes in one, but I also skateboard.
So speaking of like SF, like you've been here for what, 8 years now?
Roughly, yeah.
That's insane. Like, what do you like about the city in terms of like being here as a builder? Do you think like a lot of people should like move here?
I'm going to reframe it slightly first. I will answer that, but where else would I be?
Good question. I mean, where'd you grow up?
Massachusetts, and my family moved out when I graduated.
Okay, so they're all here then. Nice.
You should know how this mic works. You got to be close to it.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, when I graduated high school, I went to college in New York. They stayed like 2 more years. My sister was finishing high school, but once, like the day my sister graduated, they had closed the house and moved out. Like they were done with Massachusetts. They all moved to Maine. So
Maine.
Yeah. So I have no ties to Massachusetts whatsoever. I don't really have ties to Maine. I barely spent any time there. This is the closest thing I have to a home, so I don't have anywhere else I would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of like, for example, like a lot of engineers that are just graduating, they're thinking of making the move to San Francisco. A lot of them are like tied down by either visa issues or things like family. Do you think it's worth like foregoing all that and just coming here?
Get the job first. Like it makes all of those things significantly easier. I didn't move here without a job. It wasn't a great offer because I still had the like contract to hire offer at Twitch that I had to grind through to get a real job. So I had to cover my moving expenses myself. It's funny. I got a signing bonus for the like move and stuff 6 months after I got here. So I just like I had to go into debt for that. I sold my car to cover it.
Really?
But yeah, it was fine. I haven't owned a car for 8 years. It's been awesome.
That's a lot of like. Do you feel like that's a lot of risk compared to what a lot of people are willing to do to like get into the right place? Like being able to go into debt to furnish an apartment to move somewhere different.
Oh, I didn't furnish the apartment. That was just for covering the flights and the first month of rent. Wow. No, I was sleeping on the floor for a couple weeks. I don't care. I'm trying to remember how to put this. I had to be here, and I had a job here. The job was going to pay me $120K a year. Going into debt temporarily, just like borrowing money from my parents. I would have done it from a bank otherwise. I never really racked up any money on credit cards. I could have done that too, but I had the offer and I had the expectation I would be at the office on this day. The money was there. It just wasn't in my bank account yet. So right. I think it's different. Going into debt to get out here when you don't have that payout, like I knew within this many weeks, I would have this much money wired to my bank account. That's not really debt. Almost feels bad using that word for that.
Right.
I did not take risk coming out here. The biggest risk I took was the fact that the place I was going to live when I moved out here last second changed their insurance policy so I couldn't have animals there, and I was flying out with my cats.
Okay.
So I had to couch crash for like my first month-ish here between friends' places before I could get my spot ironed out.
Right. And you started off at Twitch when you first moved here. And I remember in one of your videos you mentioned that when you first started Twitch, you practically knew nothing, or you were not the best engineer.
What's funny is I knew quite a bit, but I was a terrible engineer.
How does that work? How does the difference work between that?
I knew all about technology, but I didn't know how to apply it at a company, like doing day-to-day work, like code reviewing, actually shipping, making the right changes, knowing how on-call works. Just like all these details. It's stuff you have to learn by doing it. And you're not going to get that experience by just moving out here and sitting at tables with people who do it. You get that experience by being in the trenches. You got to be in the trenches. If being out here makes it easier to get there, maybe I could see that. But honestly, get the job first. I can't tell you how many companies I'm talking to that are desperate to hire engineers in SF. Not as in they're already here, but they're willing to move here. Almost all of them are okay with getting someone to move here and helping them out with the cost, helping them out with the visa and stuff. I don't know any companies that are down to hire for remote right now.
Really?
If they were, they've already filled those roles. So like, if you're trying to get a job in tech right now, the job will bring you here. But don't move here looking for a job. look for jobs that move you here.
Right. Do you feel like, on that topic of jobs, do you feel like there's sort of a short squeeze where companies feel like they can't find the right engineers, but engineers feel like they can't get a job no matter what? And it's sort of like this sort of juxtaposition on both sides that neither can find each other.
This is a hard one to answer without getting canceled, so I'm just going to eat it. The engineers that are struggling to find a job are not the engineers that I talk to.
Okay.
Like, that's the best I can put it. Even the like fresh out of college, even the fresh out of high school kids in my community, like there aren't many of them, but the ones that are there are all fucking exceptional. I really don't know many people that are struggling to get a gig because, like, I don't know how to put this other than, like, to be in my circle and to like be with my crew and to be one of the people I respond to in DMs, you kind of have to know your shit.
Right.
Like, there's a cart before the horse here thing that I see a lot where people, and I talk about the open source thing all the time. I have a video, I don't know if you've seen it, the Stop Contributing to Open Source.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite videos I've ever done. I am so tired of this idea that, like, if you get your name on the right repo on GitHub and you win a hackathon and you have a website that's cool and a resume that sounds good, you'll just magically be gifted a job. It just appears out of the sky. Nothing fucking works that way. On top of that, it's polluted GitHub and open source contribution to all hell because people are convinced that there's this magic set of things that will get them this job. And the world does not work that way. And the problem with this is that open source contributions are a really good cart to have behind the horse.
Right.
When the horse is writing code and doing things of meaning, and then you run into a problem with the tool that you're using, you realize that you can fix this, or maybe you can just cut an issue to describe it in detail, or you see somebody else's issue and you're the one who drops the repro and the like replies. That's all awesome. That means you're a real engineer solving real problems and know how to look into the details. That makes you more hireable. When people say contribute to open source, it's not what they mean.
Right.
They mean spamming PRs with random shit, hoping that someone accidentally clicks merge.
Okay. So cart before the horse. Horse is actually getting out there, getting real experience,
It's doing
building
shit.
real things.
Yeah.
You mentioned being in the trenches is how you sort of learn to build that doing shit habit. For those kids, for example, those high school students that are in your community, they're in your circle, that have that experience, that have that cart, that horse, how do they go about doing it, right? It's obviously not as easy for them to hop into a job.
I almost feel like I shouldn't talk about this because it will cause the problem I'm describing here.
Okay.
It's like, if it walks like a duck and it sounds like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably an imposter.
Okay.
Like, that's the problem I see, is if you're given the characteristics of what a good engineer looks like, you'll copy all of the characteristics, but now you're just cosplaying.
Right.
Like, it doesn't work that way. You have to care, and you can't just magically end up there. I'm going to give an analogy that might not resonate with the people watching, but I think will resonate with you. A place I see this a lot is what I call cosplaying as a CEO.
Okay.
Where a person just raised a bunch of money through whatever firms, whatever angels, whoever else they got the money from. They suddenly have like $4 million in the bank for their startup that has no users yet.
Okay.
They want to feel like a real boss of a real company.
Right.
So they do some marketing, they put out the product, they get a little trickle of users, but not much. That feels really bad when you compare the like attention that your company is getting to the amount of money that you raised and where you should be and where you think you should be. So you start finding other metrics to bump, like how many employees you have, how complex your infrastructure is, how much money you spend per ad that you do, how fancy can your marketing materials be.
Right.
You spend money on all these things that make you feel like you're more of a real CEO, but you're not actually advancing the success of your business.
Right.
I know companies that have spent $100,000 on a single video that have worse MRR than T3 Chat.
Wow.
They have. I know a company with 40 employees that has worse revenue metrics than us.
Okay. And how big is your team?
2.5.
Okay.
It's just, I see this a lot, and I'm scared if I talk about the characteristics of what one of these good engineers look like, that it's going to be similar to when you'll talk about how good their business is doing,
right,
and then people go copy all of the side effects. Because that's what those things are. Like, if your business is growing really fast, you have to hire a bunch of people to keep up or you fail. If your business is like converting really, really well, then you have to buy ads or you're not making as much money as you could be.
Right.
These are all second order effects of the horse being really fast.
Yeah.
If your horse isn't moving, doing all of these things to it doesn't make the horse move. It just doesn't work that way. And I see this a lot in engineering, where engineers think if they copy like the technologies that I use or the way that I think, they'll magically become a faster horse.
Right.
I actually just filmed a video at my tech site. It's probably coming out in the next few days, probably before this even, I went out of my way at every beat of that video to say, don't just blindly copy what I'm doing because you think I'm smart and know what I'm doing here. I'm trying to describe how I came here so you can find your own processes to come to your own conclusions. You need to do the thing to do that, though. You don't get there by copying others. You get there by having a thing you want.
Right.
The example I'll often give here is, it's not really an example, more just a mindset thing, is build something that you wish existed. For me, I find new things like this all the time. I've built a bunch of random pieces of software for managing video assets and images for the stuff that I do here. I built a bunch of tools for managing my like inventory in Pokemon when I was trying to do a living dex.
Okay.
I built a bunch of custom like stuff around SSH and GNU Screen when I was hosting my Minecraft servers back when I was like 15 or 16. I got good by solving problems. I got good at contributing to a team by finally getting a job with a team that also had problems to solve.
Okay.
And learning. The hardest shit for me was learning how to go from solving my problems to solving someone else's. But that was what I got from the gig. I wouldn't have even got the gig if I didn't have the ability to solve my own problems.
Right. I feel like the advice of like build something that you would use or that you want that solves your own problems. It's interesting because on like the topic of like cargo culting and everyone's sort of doing things for the sake of appearances instead of understanding why they're being why it's done. A lot of people that will go through and build some of the things that they want. Like, for example, you build like marker thing, right? Mm-hmm. For your own uses. That's not something commercial. That's not something you sell. It's like open. Anyone can use it. A lot of people are going to take your advice, try building something they want, and it's not going to be something that's commercially viable. And they're going to be like, well, that was shit advice. It sort of falls within the same vein of like cargo culting.
Try to find the right way to put this point. If you rewind 10 minutes and listen to all of the things I just said, and your conclusion is I need to build a thing myself so I can make money off of that thing, you need to rewire your brain fundamentally because you're not aligned with reality right now. Like, I don't know how else to put it. The point of building these things isn't so you can go make a bunch of money on these things. I've probably built like 30 products in my life before any of them were successful. And even at Ping, the company that owns Ping.gg, T3 Tools, all of the T3 Tools stuff, including Marker Thing, Webhook Thing, Upload Thing, and now T3 Chat, almost all of those had to basically fail before T3 Chat happened. And we didn't think T3 Chat would be successful. We thought it might make a few grand a month if we're lucky. We had no idea it would do as well as it does.
So when you do build these things then, like and I think that's something that strikes me a lot about your content. When you do things, you do it for the sake of like either interest or the sake of learning, it sounds like.
It's both. It's explicitly both every time. I try to make sure I can get both of those values out of the things.
Right.
Because I have an endless list of ideas. If I'm not going to learn anything building it and I don't benefit meaningfully from it, I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think it's like a trait specifically, like, or a bigger problem specifically in software engineering that a lot of the people that go into it, a lot of people are building, it's purely for the money, it's purely for the results, as opposed to those two things you just mentioned?
I'm trying to find the most polite way to say those people are fucked.
Okay.
This might have to be it. I don't think there will be much room for that going forward, simply because the amount of work an individual engineer can do is going up exponentially every day. And this isn't just like an AI shell thing. I think this is also the case with tools like Vercel, tools like Convex, tools like PlanetScale. Previously, these things would have been a team of 4 to 10 people at every single company in the world. Now they are abstracted infrastructure services that allow for a single person to ship at the same scale as Amazon or Netflix. That wasn't really viable before. And funny enough, like AWS was the first instance of this, where all of a sudden we went from needing a team of server managers working in a warehouse to keep your servers alive in the data centers to no companies have those really, other than like the big cloud providers. This abstraction layer continues to happen in software. We went from assembly to C to interpreted languages to web. And then with the infrastructure, we went from like building our own CPUs to buying computers and servers to renting servers and managing them yourself to services on AWS to Vercel. We have been building abstractions on top to make life easier forever. That's just the nature of engineering. We make things better for ourselves. Obviously, the amount of work a given engineer can do is increasing every given month or year.
Sure.
AI is accelerating that some amount. You can argue that it's like a 1.1 multiplier. You could argue that it's a 10 multiplier. It doesn't really matter. Companies don't need as many engineers as they did 5 years ago.
Right.
That's reality. So the engineers they're going to have are going to be the best ones.
Okay.
The ones who care. And if one engineer and this is a thing I actually say a lot to founders and to people who are trying to understand early stage. If I'm trying to decide between two products, and one product is built by a team of 70 at a company of 2,000. And they're building this so that they can get their promo next semester or that next quarter.
Right.
And then there is like two 20-something-year-olds that are obsessed with this problem, like autistic about this problem, and they can't stop thinking about it, they will outship the 2,000 person multi-billion-dollar company every single time without fail.
Outship in terms of like actual amount of throughput that's being put out, or outship
Throughput, quality, understanding of users, care, thoughtfulness,
really?
quality of product.
Where do you think that line gets drawn? Like, for example, a company like Google.
When the cost of the service to run it is exponentially greater than the cost of engineering.
Okay.
Like, you can't compete with YouTube because it's so like YouTube's a loss leader minus ads.
Yeah.
I'm gonna carry out my cat 1 second.
Okay.
Speaking of loss leaders, hey Miles, stop costing me money. Sorry, bud. Turn on the AC so we don't work.
Cool.
Anyways, I think I was complaining about costs.
Loss leaders, yeah.
Yeah. The amount of money Twitch loses is genuinely horrifying.
Really?
Like, it's so expensive to run live streams with a lot of people watching. The cost of the infra, the cost to even get your foot in the door to start, and then the cost to run it is so high that eng cost and eng time are almost a negligible expense.
Right.
When you're competing in those places, you will lose. And that plus the other thing that tends to make these bigger businesses win is the bundle effect. Like, Microsoft with the Office suite in 365 has a huge wedge that makes it so that they can quickly outship, and not even outship, but like outsell Slack and Zoom and all these other things because it's part of their bundle. Google with G Suite has a similar thing where like Google Drive, Google Docs, Gmail, and all of the powerful tools like Meet and whatnot for businesses that they've been slowly raising the price on. They kept the price at like $4 a month per seat for like 10 years, and they've been bumping it $1 every 6 months for a bit now. I think it's like $9 or $10 now. It's crazy. They've more than doubled the price, and nobody even bats an eye because we all rely on it so much.
Okay.
Like, you can't compete with that because there's so much value from the bundle that it creates inherent lock-in.
Okay.
So like, those are the things you can't compete with. You can't compete with really compelling bundles, and you can't compete with infra that's constantly losing money if you can't subsidize it the way those businesses can. Everything else is up for grabs.
So then if everything else is up for grabs, you believe those engineers, for example, that are actually curious, interested in learning, and actual builders that care about the problem, you think it's like, now that, for example, AI, like you said, there's a multiplier on what an individual engineer can do. Do you think it's like the golden age for building, the golden age for these types of
Absolutely.
engineers?
Without question. This is the best time ever to like quit your job and go build the thing if you want to build the thing.
Okay. Would you also say it's the best time ever for an individual contributor that's actually passionate about what they're doing to get a job if they wanted to go down that route as well?
Absolutely. You could go to any of these startups in the city, work there for 1 to 3 years, learn a ton, make a shitload of connections, save a good bit of money, maybe even get some equity if the company's successful, have a cash out, or at least something you could take loans against there that's like collateral that would do pretty well. Then you're so set. I think I've been trying to find the right way to talk about more is, I talked about this a bit in my startup video. It's the idea of like building privilege.
Okay.
Like, I'm privileged in the sense that like I had a pretty well off family. We had our issues back and forth, but for the most part, I could get support for them when I needed it. Like, they sold my car for me so I'd have the money to move here because I was too busy to sell my own car.
Okay.
Those types of things added up in a way that made the move here less risky than the fact that I actually had an offer that was going to pay me way less risky. Then I made a lot of money at that job. I had saved a ton of money and had a bunch of Amazon stock that had done quite well. Now I have way less risk if I'm going to quit and go coast, work at a couple startups here and there, figure out my thing. And then when I decide to start my own company, I have way less risk as well because I know I can get a job at any point if I need it. I have a bunch of money saved, so I have a couple months where I'm totally good. And I met all of these awesome people throughout my time in college and at Twitch that are down to throw money at my business now that I'm starting it because they remember me as the engineer that was good to work with. Now that I'm starting my own thing, they trust me to be successful with it. I built a ton of privilege through all of this, but it's the privilege of, because I'm a good engineer, I'm now trusted by these successful people, these people who have money and resources,
right,
that have connections so I can get jobs, so I can meet other investors, so I can do all of these things. That's a privilege I have, but it's a privilege I worked for. And you should be trying to build as many of those as possible if you want to do a thing that requires a lot of roles.
Okay.
Nobody's successful their first time with the startup thing. You got to roll a couple products. You got to roll a couple things. You got to eat a lot of shit. It's like a thing I think a lot about is skateboarding. It's where my heart will always be. No one landed a kickflip the first try.
Okay.
It's just like laughable. Like, if you've ever skated, and even if you haven't, the amount of dexterity and control of every movement and familiarity you need to land a kickflip, you can't do it the first time. That's not how it works. And people somehow think that startups are easier.
Okay.
And I don't get that. Like, you got to be down to eat shit. And if eating shit means you're going to be broke and in debt and can't survive, then you shouldn't be doing this yet. If you have a family you need to cover for, or like people that are dependent on you for income and health insurance and shit, you can't do the startup yet.
Okay.
You just cannot do it. And it sucks. And I know I'm telling people, like, you cannot pursue this thing that is your dream. But your dream is not something that you are given. Your dream is something that has to be earned. And earning it isn't committing to it too early. Earning it is setting up the support systems and like foundation you need to build and not die when it falls over.
Do you think part of that foundation, for example, was you working at Twitch, learning how to be a good engineer? Do you think that's the type of foundation people also have to learn to acquire before going to a startup?
Before going to or making a startup? Because they're very different.
Before making a startup.
To me, this feels like, do you have to be able to stand up before you can skate?
Okay.
And technically, no. Felipe Nunez doesn't have legs, and he's one of the gnarliest skaters alive.
Okay.
But that's the exception to the rule. Obviously, you need to be able to stand up if you're going to skateboard. Like, duh. If you're building a company and you're the technical person at the company, you need to know how to build and be technical. I'm presuming we're already there by the time you're going to go do the startup. And if you're not yet, go get an internship, go get a job. Like, I kind of want to make my brand go get the job at this point, because so many people are hesitant when it's the thing they obviously need. I am so thankful I did my 5 years in real industry stuff after doing a bunch of internships and co-ops and other things and building my own stuff for years prior. Like, I had 10 years of on the ground real engineering experience before I even considered doing a startup.
Really?
Before I even considered working at one. I could have worked at one and gotten similar experiences, but I've never seen somebody who was screwed because they started their startup too late.
Okay.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen the opposite, where you got screwed because you started too early.
Really?
Yeah.
So then, in your opinion, I guess like the optimal like build order, so to speak, would be like get the job, get the experience, find something you're actually passionate about, build it.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, and you could build it on the side when you're at the job too. Like, the best time to do the startup is when you can't not do it anymore, where you're not sleeping at night anymore because you need to be doing this thing.
Right.
There's a lot of like, this is what's so hard when talking about this, is the advice I give to get good at engineering and the advice I give to be a founder or like a YouTuber or whatever, there's almost no overlap between the two.
Really?
Because the advice to be a good engineer is go be an engineer.
Right.
The advice to being a founder that's successful or YouTuber that's successful is don't fucking do it.
Okay.
Like, don't do this. This is not worth it. Like, running a company, running a channel, doing all this shit, it's so much more work than I've ever done. And for the majority of the time, I made less money than I made as an engineer. Until 6 months ago, you could argue that all of this was a mistake.
Really? For you, 6 months
absolutely.
ago?
Like, literally 6 months ago, I was still losing money on the YouTube channel, especially after all the Vercel drama and shit. Like, this channel cost me money for 3 years straight.
Really?
Because I didn't want to go the whole sponsor route with the traditional shit. But all the connections I made, the opportunities I got, the ability to talk to these people I've looked up to my whole life, like, it was all worth it. I'm not saying this to complain. I'm saying this is a reality check. This isn't success, or like, doing this isn't what makes you successful. If you're doing this in pursuit of something else, like you want to be a founder so you can be successful. You want to be a founder so you can make a bunch of money. You want to be a founder because you think it's cool. You want to be a YouTuber for any of those same reasons. Don't do it. Do not. And even if it's not for those reasons, you probably shouldn't do it. The only people who should be going down these paths, the founder path, the YouTuber path, those types of things where there's a huge gap between the successful people and everyone else, are the people who, when I say don't fucking do it, don't listen.
Okay.
I recommend you listen to me and that you don't do it. But if me saying that this was a mistake isn't enough to stop you, then it's not enough to stop you. You have a better chance at succeeding. But if me telling you how shitty it is makes you second guess it, you're not cut out for this shit. Don't do it.
I feel like you saying that will make a lot of people want to do it just for the sake of,
I know.
like, and
as always, 99% of them will fail, but the 1% who are successful are going to be really proud of themselves.
So do you believe, okay, let's talk content creation then. A lot of people that want to go into content creation, you believe like 99% of them are probably never going to make it. And what would you define as making it for those people?
Making enough money to pay your rent.
Okay.
Like, even that is we were talking about this a bit earlier, actually.
Yeah.
If you look at a field like engineering and you think about the like income breakdowns across engineers, you can imagine it's a pretty standard normal curve where the majority of the amount of like if you look at engineering salaries, the vast majority probably fall between like 40K and 500K a year. Like 95+% of people who write software for a living are making 40K a year to 500K a year. There are people on the other ends there to an extent, like people who only work a little bit part-time or are in nations that don't pay as well, that are making less money than that. And there's a handful of people that make ungodly amounts of money, like all these crazy meta AI offers where they're making like 15 to 100 mil a year, supposedly. I think it's all bullshit. Regardless, there are people who make over $1 million a year in software dev, and there's people who make under 10K in software dev. The vast majority are in a reasonable range between those two. What about NBA? Okay. What about basketball? How many professional basketball players make under $1 million a year?
Pretty much none of them.
Zero. The answer is actually zero because it's a minimum $3 million a year contract. Where do you think YouTubers fall between the two?
Yeah, definitely on the NBA side.
Yes. If you were to look at the raw number of people who make between minimum wage and 500K a year on YouTube and the raw number of people, or channels I will say, that make over $1 million a year, they're probably similar numbers of people, which means 95% of the money is going to that top.
Yep.
Because this section is so small and so little income that it's a blip on the radar. That's not how, and I know a lot of these people, the people who are in that range actually often end up working way harder to make ends meet because one video bombs, they're out. One sponsor cuts, they can't make rent.
Right.
When you're fighting in that range, it is so much scarier than just having a fucking job. Get the job. If you can't keep yourself from doing this, then do it. But do it with a safety net of a thing that pays your bills, because that not only is this range hard to get into, it is a death sentence because anytime you fuck up, it's over and you're not focused on what actually matters, which is getting to the other side where you're making way more. And that's not even a thing that you get because you want it. That's a thing you get because you get good at everything else.
Right.
And even then, it's like literally 0.001% do it. The vast majority of YouTube channels will never even be monetized.
Really? So then on the topic of like get a job, like you see right now in like startup culture and even content creation culture, it's like such a popular thing to drop out of university or even high school now. We're seeing a lot of like people just drop out of high school to go into YC or into like any other type of incubator or to just start content because their shorts go viral. Do you think that's long term? Do you think that's like smart?
I'm going to say things I'm going to get in trouble for. Okay. That's fine. I've been saying these a bit more recently. I need to just commit to it. The really hot one that I just have to jump on first is that any accelerator that isn't YC is a fucking joke. There is not a single accelerator other than YC that's ever had $1 billion company. Not a single one. Every other one of them is a fucking meme.
Really?
Yep.
Neo, like Pear.
Don't drop names. I'm going to get in more trouble.
Okay.
I will say that I know more about these accelerators than anybody in the comments who is disagreeing with me here. I don't know how to say, like, trust me, I've put millions of dollars into this shit. You should listen to me properly. Like, I've been scouting with A16 forever. I've been doing a lot of these things for many years now. I've watched the industry. The only example people will point to is that Cursor was a Neo company, but they weren't a Neo company. They got a Neo check, but didn't go through the accelerator, so it's fucking bullshit. Wow. There is not a single $1 billion company out of any of these other accelerators, and there are literally hundreds of them out of YC. So if you're dropping out to go join a group of rejects that doesn't make money, know that that's what you're doing. If you're dropping out for YC, I would still encourage you to go to school. Paul Graham would still encourage you to go to school.
Yep.
I get why you want to roll the dice on that. It's less of a risk. It's still a risk because like the difference is 5% of YC companies make it to $1 billion valuation. 0% of every other accelerators do.
Right.
So you're rolling the dice on your entire life and career for a 5% chance that it'll be very successful after you work your fucking ass off, with a 95% chance you work similarly hard and get nothing for it. It's not a great gamble.
Right.
And if these numbers are making you hesitate, don't do it, because this is not a thing that you should do if you're scared. This is a thing you should do because you're like post fear, and the thing that you want is so desperately wanted that you can't really sleep.
Right. I feel like the interesting thing I think about a lot of your takes, and especially about you as a person, when I first started watching on YouTube, I like wasn't the biggest fan, but then the more I watched you, the more I realized like the things you say, the truths that you sort of like come to the conclusion of are from data from the connections you have, data from the things you're doing, data from like what you're actually seeing in the real world. And it's rare to meet someone like you that will actually is not afraid to like say these things that are like hard truths for other people to swallow, but based on real things. And yep. I'm wondering like where that came from, where that like I think in your opinion, you would say you're sort of like dedicated to truth and like on.
I think I'm just autistic.
Okay.
Like, if I'm being real, I don't know how to be any other way. And I have like two different buckets of my takes, which is like, generally speaking, the industry trends in this direction versus this has literally never succeeded and you're delusional for thinking you're special.
Right.
So, for example, with the first one, it's, I get why you're going to YC. You're, statistically speaking, you aren't going to be successful with it, but there's a 5% chance you will. It's a reasonable thing to fight for if you really think you can do it. I get why you're doing that. I won't talk too much shit. Going to another accelerator, why do you think you're going to be the first ever person to be successful out of that accelerator?
Right.
I don't think it's good. Statistically speaking, it won't happen because it's never happened. And another example of this is like when I talk about the technology Flutter. My counterpoint whenever somebody gives me shit about hating Flutter is, show me one good Flutter app and I'll shut up.
Okay.
That's all it will take. I will immediately walk back all of my takes on Flutter. I will unlist all of my videos about it. I will make an apology video probably even. If you show me one app I can use on my iPhone today that doesn't make me want to blow up my brains.
Okay.
That's all it will take. And no one has done it because Flutter is a fundamentally flawed technology.
Wow. And then, okay, back on the topic of YC, like, okay, this 5% like billionaire rate, so obviously that's like propagated.
And to be clear, it's 5% unicorn rate. You're not going to get anywhere near $1 billion out of that $1 billion valuation. You're lucky to get 300 mil at that point. And even then, after taxes and everything, like $1 billion valuation means you might come out like 150 mil if you do well.
Okay. What do you think makes like, I know the early days with Dalton, Michael, Paul, and stuff like that, or I guess it was just Paul in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think gives YC that edge?
Paul and his wife.
Right. Jessica.
She deserves a ton of credit. Jessica's an incredible
Social
human being.
Radar. She's awesome. I've watched a ton of her podcasts.
She's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what makes them different is, for the most part, they are all just so no bullshit.
Okay.
The thing that Paul did different that I love, and is just, I didn't get it until I went through YC and started reading his stuff more. He is the king of saying really complex ideas in the simplest possible words.
Right.
If you take any one of his blog posts and throw it through like the reading comprehension level analysis tools, it's like, oh, this is a 4th grade reading level. He doesn't use big words and fancy bullshit. He just says the thing he's trying to in almost like inappropriately simple terminology. It's genuinely an achievement the way that he writes. I envy it, and I try to achieve that in my own way too.
No, I was gonna say it's interesting. I even like the radical like truth telling stuff. Like we met like a couple hours ago, and literally the first interaction, one of the first interactions I had with you was like telling you what I'm trying to do in my startup, and your advice was just like, yeah, it's TLDR, it's like fucking shit, right?
I mean, it could work as a small like lifestyle business to like a 10 mil value thing, and I think there's gonna be a lot more of those. Like, I guess this is worth talking about a little bit. There's a problem I see a lot where people think a startup is a thing that can make $1 million a year. If you can make $1 million a year doing a thing, you should do it. Be really proud of it. That's not a startup. A startup's a thing that can go from 0 to 50K a year to $1 million a year to $100 million a year, where it just ramps up like fucking mad because nobody's investing in one of these startups because they want to 2x their money. They're investing because they want to 200x their money 10% of the time. That's how this all works.
Right.
And you don't get that from these companies that are like extra layers of niching. The more filters you put onto your idea, the example I gave is Tinder for dogs with 3 legs in Alaska. Every additional word that came out of my mouth made that product less successful, made it less reach. That doesn't mean you shouldn't build it. If you really want Tinder for dogs with 3 legs in Alaska, and you're convinced that it will be helpful for you and the people you care about, do it, knowing that it isn't worth investing in. I'm not going to invest in an idea that can't be worth $1 billion someday. I'll invest in a team that is capable of thinking of ideas in that way, but I won't invest in a company that I don't see having that capability, and no one else will either. A startup as in the thing that like goes through an accelerator, can raise money, can scale, can hire, can do all the things you guys think of with startups, is not the types of things that Levels.io is going to compete with. Like the indie hacker thing where you make a living off of a couple products that do decently well. Like if Levels was a founder, he would be a shit founder.
Okay.
He is not doing revenue numbers that would make him a worthwhile investment, and he doesn't know how to scale a business for shit. He is a terrible founder. So if you want to be a founder that goes through YC and you're looking to Levels for advice, you're going the wrong way.
Do you think more founders, engineers should be okay with doing the Mark Liu, doing the Levels approach to actually building instead of trying to go for this all or nothing approach?
I think you should always default to that. Like, I think there's a limited amount of shelf space for people who are doing that, for sure. But at the same time, I keep finding random bespoke products that do really solid revenue. Like there was an awful teleprompter app I was trying to use for a while before I moved to custom software on my Elgato. Turns out the guy who made that makes like 1.2 mil a year off the subscriptions alone. And it's like one shitty teleprompter app that you put on your iPad and attach to a teleprompter for your camera. Like there's a ton of these types of one-off things. There's a flight app that I love, Flighty. That guy I think is doing like 5 to 6 mil a year. It's a solo dev building an app that is primarily like infrastructure for tracking all of the flight data from every airline ever to give you slightly better recommendations and like timings for flights. I gladly pay for $100 a year for that subscription because it makes my life easier when I'm flying all the time. And that guy's printing as an independent developer doing that himself.
Okay. What do you think separates like Flighty, for example, from like as an idea? Like everyone takes flights. Like the market theoretically should be like quite large for that. What do you think separates that idea from like a max like 10 mil ARR to like a 100 like 200 mil ARR idea?
Who is it providing value to? Because the expensive flight app, most people fly once a year.
Okay.
That's the average. Most people's flights probably cost $400. You're now spending 25% more a year on flights for an app that you'll forget you have on your phone.
Okay.
It makes no sense for the vast majority of people.
Right.
It's again, like always think in funnels and filters. Everyone flies. Most people have problems with flights. Some people want more data. Some people fly enough to care. Some people look into like good apps for these types of things. Some of them will find this. A very small number will sign up and a very small number will keep their subs. Every single one of those layers cuts 90% of the funnel out. So if you have all of people and you cut 90% to 10 times, you're down to a couple thousand people.
So when you built T3 Chat then, did you have that funnel in mind? Is this something that's meant to be venture backed and grow to like $1 billion company, or is it more like a...
The T3 Chat was a weird Hail Mary play when I was trying to get my company to default alive because I fucked this up with my company. None of the products we were building had that potential to scale. I had paths on how we could remove layers up funnel.
Okay.
Like with Ping, for example, we start with live video for Twitch. We move it from Twitch to other platforms so that you can use it with everything. We then remove the live streaming aspect so that you can record straight on Twitch as like a podcasty type solution. We then abstract the like output format so you can do it on your phone and other things like that. And then we abstract like where the dump goes. Instead of it being a file you go download, maybe we can integrate it into your video editor directly. Like each of these removals increases the size of the potential market exponentially.
Sure.
With T3 Chat, an example of this is we chose a really low price, which massively opens up our market.
Yeah.
We also are going to put out a mobile app soon, which will massively open up our market again, potentially 2 to 3x it. These things are how we go back up the funnel since we niched a little bit. But our pitch was never niche with T3 Chat. The pitch is the best AI chat app ever made.
Okay.
And we've maintained that bar. Everyone benefits from that because there's over 1 billion people using ChatGPT. We're a better app. We see no reason why we couldn't someday have a similar number of users. But that was not why we built it. We built it because my company was burning money every month. Pick thing we had just put out, which is for managing assets as a creator, was doing decently. It was doing like 1.5K MRR and the costs were relatively low. I did a bunch of math. I looked at where our revenue was. I was like, okay, if we do this 5 more times, and maybe 1 or 2 of them does slightly better revenue, we'll no longer be burning money and this company will survive next year.
Right.
That would be really nice. We should find a couple more things we can do that will make 1 to 5K a year or a month revenue, and then we'll be revenue positive and we can survive as we figure out what's next.
Okay.
The next one was T3 Chat.
Okay.
We did not expect it to blow up the way it did, but that was like an unintentional side effect of the combination of like the market, the quality of the product, and how deep the need was for a thing for like the top of funnel for us for like users coming in is they want to try all of the models and compare them.
Right.
Then their sub lapses or they did the $1 deal and they go to cancel. They go back to ChatGPT or Claude.
It's horrible.
Our subscription revival rate's insane. Where you will cancel and then come back because they forgot how much better our site was than the others because they get used to using it. They get comfortable with it working well. It's like moving to an iPhone for 3 years and going back to Android and remembering how jank and miserable it is. Like that's actually how it feels. Like I feel like we built the iPhone and everybody else is rocking an Android-ass platform.
So the actual moat that you guys have built here. So obviously it's one of the only AI ideas where like an AI lab isn't going to come and like replace this because obviously they'll never be able to integrate other models in. But for example, like other people that try to release similar apps to yours, like where do other than like your distribution, what do you think like is the big moat around your idea?
The distribution's far from a moat. Everyone overrates the distribution massively. Like I'm probably near market saturation for my audience, like people in my audience that would be interested in T3 chat, I might get like 50% more of them with the mobile app, but I have basically accepted that I've nearly tapped out of what I can get out of my audience for T3 chat in terms of new user growth.
Really?
Yeah, the being a creator hampers your business significantly.
It hampers your business.
Absolutely, it does. It distracts me all of the fucking time.
Okay.
It means that I'm now a huge risk for the company, both because I'm a flight risk if I leave, the perceptions the business is dead, and if I stay and then anything controversial happens, the perceptions the business is evil. There's so much risk with me doing this, and it's keeping me from being in the trenches building the thing. All for what? So that if I include T3 chat in one of 10 videos, I might get 1,000 subscribers at best.
Okay, I think that's a really interesting point, because I think the like general consensus right now, and mind you, this like take it with a grain of salt, because I feel like not very many people have done it to your degree where you have the following that you have and you've converted the following that you have into a startup. But a lot of the general what people are saying right now is like being a creator is the best way to be a founder. Like you look at things like Cluey and like Roy Lee, and you know, to quote him, like no controversy from a CEO has ever killed a business, for example.
Oh, how wrong that statement is. I'm going to do a fun thing. I'm not going to say names because I can't, but I'm going to go through my investor database, the place I keep track of all the companies I've invested in.
Okay.
I'm going to look through them and not say names, but look for the successful ones, the ones that like are likely going to exit, and tell you whether or not the founder has any meaningful social media presence beyond like 1,000 followers on Twitter.
Right.
Okay, the first one that's a high valuation, they have no presence at all. Okay, this next one is very, very successful. I've never invested twice in a company before, but either seed and Series A, they're fucking killing it. No social presence whatsoever. Their most prominent socials person at the company is I think it's the CEO, and she has under 800 followers. She's nobody.
When you say no socials, do you mean specifically for the founders or the company itself as well?
All and. I mean that there is nothing associated with this brand that has any relevance to social media, but they're doing millions of dollars a year in revenue. Okay, so the two so far that are doing millions a year in revenue have no presence whatsoever. One of them has the gold check on their company account. I think it has like 5K followers. I never post on it.
Okay.
And by the way, I just scrolled by 7 that are trying to do the social thing, like back to back to back. Almost all of them are trying the social thing, and none of them are making money. One I'm on the line for, because I think the founder will be successful, but they're not making any money right now.
Okay.
4 more that are just social presence that don't have any marketing. Actually, here's a fun one that we can all talk about, because this is mostly public and people know I've invested in the ones I've invested in. I've invested in most of the vibe coding builder apps because I just happen to have been friends with a lot of the people making them. Some have social presence, some don't. Let's look at StackBlitz versus Lovable versus StackBlitz, which is Bolt versus Lovable versus V0. Which of those is making the most money?
Lovable, I guess.
By quite a bit.
Right.
They make a lot of money. I've been getting those updates for a while. I know they get shit for people thinking it's not genuine. I have no reason to believe it's not genuine. It seems very real.
Okay.
Which one has the most social presence?
I guess VO.
By a lot. V0 has the most by a large margin.
Right.
They just put out a huge announcement yesterday, and it got like 200 likes on Twitter, not even.
Really?
Like after the whole day.
Okay.
Yeah, no one cares. And like the founders are huge on social media. No one gives a fuck. Bolt by StackBlitz doesn't have a big presence in following, but the creator and founder, Eric, has such deep ties in the software dev world. He was one of the first people to reach out to me, which was like an emotional moment for me, because he was like a hero of mine for a long time, because he was the one who made web containers a thing.
Okay. Wow.
He took this vague standard Google had, reverse engineered it, contributed a bit to it, and made the first ever platform to run Node in the browser.
Okay.
So you could take a Node.js app or a Node.js like build pipeline for your like create React app and do the whole build process in the browser without any infrastructure needed to sandbox it. Everyone else was building cloud VMs for your IDE in the browser.
Right.
He moved it all to the browser.
Okay.
And it was so cool. And I remember trying to reverse engineer his code. He obfuscated the fuck out of it because he knew what he had. That was like 2017.
Right.
I loved that dude. So when I was it was the Bun 1.0 event, and Eric comes over to chat with me, like, wait, what the fuck? That was like one of those big, oh shit, how does this person know who I am moments for me. He has that type of relationship with so many people in the scene. He is so in the trenches. He is deeply connected with so many people in the like full stack engineering world. When he came to me with Bolt, I think I was the first external user of it, if I recall.
Okay.
Because he brought it to me because we were doing a sponsor thing at the time, like, and that was a bit of a Hail Mary because they were about to run out of money and like fail. He was going to spend some of his last money sponsoring me. I didn't know that he was that close to the end. I was taking the sponsor for Stacklets. I love the Stacklets ID and all that. But Bolt was something he was really excited about. It was the first vibe coding platform where you could tell it what tech to use and it would use that tech.
Okay, as opposed to like VO sticking in it. Yeah.
Everything else is like a React Next.js app. He built something different.
Yep.
That could use whatever tech, because that's what he cared about. Is he loves the whole ecosystem. He loves all these founders and maintainers and developers in the full web stack space. He is number 2 because he loves all of it so much.
Okay.
That's how he got there. He's not particularly big on social media. He has a lot more attention now because he's a successful founder finally. But he got there for the fucking love of the game.
Yeah.
That was the result of 10 years of failing and dedicating everything to supporting the ecosystem around him and how much he loves it. Like, I have a Vite.js shirt downstairs that I got for speaking at the Vite conference from StackBlitz.
Okay.
And they put a tiny little StackBlitz on the sleeve. The whole shirt's Vite. Like, they are here to support the ecosystem because they just genuinely love the web so much.
Right.
That's how they got to number 2. Lovable got to number 1 with branding and being early, but not social fucking media presence.
Yeah.
That did not help them at all. They don't have that. The social media presence is for 3rd place. The love of the game is for 2nd place, and then pure luck is 1st place.
Pure luck.
Yes.
Lovable.
Luck, placement, timing, execution, all formats of luck.
Okay.
I love Lovable. I love Bolt. I'm invested in both. Not invested in anything Vercel. If Vercel makes money, I lose it usually.
Okay.
So, account for my biases accordingly. That is a much more accurate representation of how startups tend to go than the guy with the most followers wins.
Wow.
Almost all, like, I can keep scrolling until I find a valuable company that has social media presence.
I feel like this is one of the most probably, like, one of the points that I think a lot of people would disagree, because right now everyone is trying to make the switch to social media. Founders, people that are just raising their seeds from YC, they're coming, like, to example, creators like me and you. I don't know if you get it as well, but the majority of my DMs are like sponsors, and all of those sponsors are like, we just like raise the seed from YC. We don't have any customers yet, but we want to like pay you X amount of money to promote this video and promote our AI vibe coding tool number 87. Is that like you're saying that's like an enormous mistake?
That is significantly better than trying to do it themselves.
Okay.
If they came to you like, we'll pay you to help our YouTube channel be better, I would slap them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's founder and company-led social media. It's garbage. It doesn't do shit. It actively distracts from the mission.
Right.
The challenge I'll give most founders is to scroll through your watch history on YouTube until you find a company video. A video from a company promoting their own product.
Right.
You'll be scrolling for a fucking while because no one watches that shit. For a very long time, the most popular video on Vercel's YouTube channel was me just ranting about, it was a talk I gave. That was just me doing like my normal YouTube video ranting about how you can abuse Next.js.
Okay.
And that was the most popular video on their channel for years. That people don't watch companies, they watch people. And you as a person trying to run a company are going to struggle a lot competing with the people doing this full time that are obsessed with it, that can't sleep if they don't. Like when I'm not filming, I watch 6 to 8 hours of YouTube a day because I'm just a degenerate. I love it. It's just who I am as a person. I watch disgusting amounts of YouTube. The creating content thing is almost a justification of my bad habits. It's like I can apply this thing I already do in a way that is beneficial to me. And the other thing is I love trying new technology. And most of what I try would never make sense for me to use for my business. So how can I justify it? The content turned out to be a good way to justify my habit of changing out the stack and the tools I use every day. It is a fun way to make something out of that bad habit.
Okay, so you're still doing YouTube practically for the love of the game then?
Yeah, the fact that I make enough money to then go invest in companies is a really cool bonus. But if I didn't love doing this still, I wouldn't be doing it anymore.
And you think, for example, T3 Chat would be a lot more successful if you weren't doing YouTube?
At this point, absolutely. If I was to quit YouTube and go all in on T3 Chat right now and not be distracted and not lose motivation because I had done that, absolutely it'd be more successful. But the biggest issue there is my ADHD will win.
Okay.
I need multiple different things I'm like fully invested in. At any given time, I am behind on both my channel and on T3 Chat. Like I need to film more ads. I need to respond to a bunch of emails. I need to deal with shit for the content. Or I have a person in the community that's offering to like publish actual research about Snitchbench that I like owe back more DMs to. He's like halfway done with the work and I'm blocking it constantly.
Okay.
Like those types of things that'll be incredible content, incredible like boost for my channel. I'm behind on all of them.
Okay.
We have 52 PRs I need to review on T3 Chat right now. And a bunch of features and planned feature work that I'm blocking right now. And by the time I have either of those fixed, I'll be fresh out of surgery from my hand.
Right.
And by the time I'm starting to function again from that, like a week later, YC demo day.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of time in the YC offices for about a week, closing out all my deals and getting that all orchestrated. Now 4 times a year, because I do 4 batches a year.
That's crazy.
So between my investing advisory stuff, running the channel, and running my business, I am behind on everything at all times. That's the nature of the life that I've chosen to live.
And the interesting, so, okay, a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people are going to hear that and they're going to sort of look at it as like, oh, that's like a really ungrateful way to look at it, for example. Like when Mark Liu came out and he's like, yeah, anyone could do what I'm doing, whereas what he was selling was ship fast and he was only able to sell it, as people think, because of that following. Do you think, for example, your following was what gave you the start with T3 Chat?
Not only is my answer to that no, I think that that effect actually hurt us and caused us to delay building the right thing for a while. Because I have a following, we are guaranteed a minimum number of users for everything we build, which sucks because we can't identify product market fit until much later. And we think we have it because we have real users. And then they slowly churn. They have really low renewal rates. They might come use us later again and then stop again. Like looking at the upload thing, user retention charts made me mentally ill. Like it seems like the business will probably do well until you realize the alignment it has with my YouTube schedule. That is what made the business have any legs at all.
I see.
T3 Chat has legs because we're the best solution. We're the first to have the new models, and we got through the hard first part of getting our first 1,000 users a lot faster. But I can get through that with any product. That's the cool thing about having an audience is you can skip the first step of getting those first users. Everything from that point forward is just as hard. But the unintentional, not talked about side effect here is because you always get those first 1,000 users, you'll stay on the wrong idea for way too long. Wow. And we did that like 3 separate times.
So I definitely think I've tested T3. I've used all the chat apps. I definitely think that like T3 Chat is by far the best user experience. I think what you guys have built is by far the best product. Like I don't think there's any debating that. I feel like a lot of people are going to watch this, look at you, and feel like this is a poor, like, feel like your stance might be like poor me situation. Like, this following, like,
to be very clear, I couldn't be happier with where I am. I fucking love this. The way I'm phrasing this isn't meant to be, woe is me, I'm ungrateful, I feel like shit about this. It's to warn you that this isn't worth it most of the time. Right. Because if it didn't come out that I'm really successful at the end here, then I just wasted the last 10 years of my life. And for the vast majority of people, that's how it goes. And that's how it was going for me until the end of last year and the beginning of this year. Like, even though I was successful by every metric, I had all this audience, I had all these things. My company was losing 20 to 40 grand a month. My YouTube channel, I was like going out of my pocket to fund my editor and pay my manager to move out here. Every time I took a sponsor, I would get infinite fucking shit for it because I would only take sponsors that I was shipping the products of. Okay. Which made it seem like I was really biased because I would say like, oh, we use this for everything. Because I would use it for everything. Then I would go to the company and say, hey, can you just pay me? So I talk about this more instead. And then I moved to what I consider a slightly more dishonest model of you buy an ad slot in my video where I can't really say anything bad about your product for 2 minutes. I don't like that because the previous model, I had blanket permission to say whatever the fuck I wanted. It was great. And I felt like I could be more honest then. I'm still very honest, and I turn down 50 sponsor deals for every one I take. I only pick products that I think are aligned with my audience, will benefit my audience, and are something I could see myself pitching at lunch or dinner to a coworker. But that was the difference for when I stopped losing money and started making money on the channel is when I compromised on a thing I cared about. Okay. Being all of these things, founder, investor, YouTuber especially, is to an extent like how much of yourself are you willing to give up to make this work? And for me, the answer was none, so it didn't work for a while. Right. And as I was willing to start compromising on a couple of the things, then it started to work. But if you compromise on too much, you just lose everything immediately. It's like a really, really tough stress test on like your own self. Okay. And I am very lucky to have come out on the other side and be successful. And the cool part is I get to do these things that I love every day. When I get fed up on one, the other two are so far behind, I get to go catch up. Yeah. I get to work on things I care about and I love every single day. There's nothing better in the world than that. But I was also really happy when I had a real job with the team that I loved working with too. So, yeah.
On the topic of like the shit that you get for your videos, on the topic of the shit you get for your videos, like I do think, I feel like objectively you get more shit for things that you do that if other creators were to do, nobody would bat an eye at.
I won't say names, but I'm seeing this right now where things I was accused of with sponsors and investors, where I was being kinder to companies because I was an investor or I was paid to say things that I don't necessarily believe. Like, none of that's ever happened with me. I literally am watching it happen to other creators in our space, and they get no shit for it whatsoever. And
Right.
it doesn't bother me. I'm trying to remember the right way to put it. It's been a weird reflection for me where I realize just how ingenuine the critique is. Like, it was never about the things I was saying or the biases they perceived. It was a frustration that I was supporting a thing they didn't like.
Right.
The big one will always be Vercel. I still use Vercel for everything I build. I still genuinely think they are the best infrastructure company in the game. I think they solve problems nobody else solves better than everybody else tries to. I've worked with other people that compete with them. I've taken sponsors from companies that compete with them. I've shipped products on companies that compete with them. I always end up going back. And even especially now with like, if you have a workload that could run on Vercel, but you're like, I'll run it on Lambda myself, you're probably going to spend more money than if you use it on Vercel, because Lambda doesn't have fluid compute. It doesn't have the concept of one node running multiple concurrent requests at the same time. You can reduce the amount of compute time that you're paying for by 95 to 99% on Vercel compared to going to AWS directly. Is it a AWS wrapper? Sure, but it's AWS wrapper that lets you use 95% less AWS and 99% less time in the dashboard. That's such a worthwhile thing that will save you a majority of your bill now. When it was more expensive, I could hear the argument. Now that it's cheaper, you're fucking stupid.
Right.
And it's just annoying that I'm still to this day called a biased Vercel shill, and that company has cost me more money than the people shitting on me make combined.
Okay.
I don't care about these people anymore because they... Actually, this is probably one of the best piece of advice I'll give. Especially if you start to build an audience, there's a weird thing that happens where a lot more people have opinions on what you do and what you say. You have to build a system and a framework in your mind for handling it. Mine is two pieces. Piece one is that I focus primarily on the people who I care about, who I look up to, who I respect, and how they're feeling about me. When I have a risky tweet, I will always show it to Mark and Ben, my CTO and my channel manager. And if either says no or I'm not sure about it, immediately gets deleted, does not get posted.
Okay.
If I do go too far on something and one of these like people in my life that I trust, be it like old mentors and friends, people I used to work with, my current team, anyone who I care about hits me up and says, I think you went too far on that. Even if I disagree, immediately delete, have a conversation with them, try to figure out what went wrong and like how I can make sure this doesn't happen in the future. That is really important to me. I get my signals from people I trust and not yes men. If somebody is too agreeable with me, I'll usually kick them out of the circle because I don't want that. I want people who are willing to challenge me. I've actually had a problem where I brought haters in too close.
Okay.
Because I wanted the pushback so badly. But that's where the other side comes in. This is important. This is the filter system, the red flags. You have to build a system where you have certain like knowable truths that if somebody denies, you know they're operating in bad faith.
Okay.
My favorite example of this, and it's really dumb. I can pick up my phone for this one. My iPhone. Have you heard of BatteryGate before?
No.
BatteryGate was a really interesting controversy. With the iPhone 6, Apple changed the shape and style of the phone fundamentally. That was the first Tim Cook phone, which meant that they were no longer going to do all of the Steve Jobs-isms. Like the big one was you could touch every corner of the phone with your thumb. The market didn't want that. Tim Cook is a data wizard. He knew that. So the first phone he got to control was the two bigger phones. The 6, which was 50% bigger than the iPhone 5, and then the 6 Plus, which was a phablet. It was a mini tablet. It's so big, and now it looks small compared to modern phones. The iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, since they were so much bigger, they needed a bigger battery. They went with a different company to make those batteries. And those batteries had different characteristics than they had worked with before, and those characteristics were largely lied about when they were given to Apple.
Okay.
The big issue there is that under really cold and really hot temperatures, the battery quality degrades over time. People also have some fundamental misunderstandings about how battery quality degrades. It's not that you can stuff less juice into the battery. It's that the efficiency of the ions in the capacitor, or is the efficiency of the ions of the battery degrade over time. The amount of electrons that can be held by them get worse over time. And more importantly, the amount of electrons it can release gets less reliable over time.
Okay.
So the amount of, like at peak voltage, the amount of juice you can get out of the battery goes down. But more importantly, the speed at which it can move up to that much juice goes down. So like if you need 2 watts and then you need 15 watts, a degraded battery goes from 2 watts to 15 watts slower.
Okay.
So Apple had a problem where 2 to 3 years in, and Apple's phones last 5 to 8 years usually.
Okay.
So 2 to 3 years in, if you lived in a really cold or really hot climate, your battery would no longer go from 2 watts to 15 watts really effectively. It would take more time to do it. What happens if your phone processor needs 15 watts, but it's only being given 2? The phone crashes and shuts down.
Right.
Do you know when your phone uses full power?
When?
There's one time of day, one time of use where most phones will ramp up the processor, and it's only one for most people.
Okay.
When you open an app. When you're opening an app, the processor will ramp up in order to get the data out of storage and put it in RAM.
Okay.
This means your phone goes from like 1 watt to 10 watts probably,
and that's what
for like a second, and then back down. And this is, if you had the degraded battery, this would crash your phone.
Yep.
Apple had a really good novel solution here. What if, on this one particular case where this happens, we slow down how fast the processor speeds up? So the processor goes from like 500 megahertz to 2 gigahertz. But instead of it doing it instantaneously, what if it does it over a fourth of a second? What if it does over half a second? What if it ramps up slower so that the battery doesn't have to give all the juice immediately? It can ramp up faster. It will preserve the battery better over time, and it will keep the phone from shutting down when this happens.
Right.
So for affected phones with affected batteries that had been detected to be at a certain level of health or lower, they automatically would slow down, not the speed of your processor. You could still go 2 gigahertz, but how fast you would get there.
Okay.
This is the biggest controversy Apple's ever been in.
Okay.
They call it BatteryGate. It's Apple doing planned obsolescence, intentionally slowing down your phone so you have to buy a new one.
Okay.
This is how it has been marketed by dishonest people for almost 10 years now. The reason I went down this whole rant is so I could hopefully make it clear that at any point does it seem like Apple being dishonest or trying to fuck over their users. It's actually kind of obvious it's the opposite.
Right.
It's them trying to make it so your iPhone 6 from 3 years ago can keep working. So when you give it to your kid and they start buying apps, it will work for them. Mm-hmm. Because if that kid goes and buys their first app and opens it and the phone crashes, they're much more likely to churn and become an Android user.
Right.
Or be a customer support burden or all these other things. They want to preserve the experience on their devices because that's how they make money long term. That's how Apple operates as a business. It is so obviously the case that if you think otherwise, you're operating in bad faith.
Okay.
I love BatteryGate now. I used to hate it. I used to detest the fact that this happened because it gave bad people ammunition against Apple that makes no sense. And there are fucked things Apple does that I want to talk about, like the way they run the App Store. I really want to be able to talk about that. But whenever I do and I make a video about the fucked things Apple does, one of the top comments is, what do you expect from a company that used to slow people's phones down? Insta, click, hide from channel, because that is a bad faith actor.
Right.
If you don't understand the situation well enough to say that confidently, or choose to not listen to the situation well enough so that you can talk shit on this thing, either way, I don't care which it is, if you're misinformed or choosing to ignore information.
Crazy.
Either or, you are not useful to me as a person. I will never need you for feedback in my life.
Right.
If you are not interested in the facts enough to be a good faith actor when giving like feedback on things, go away.
Okay.
Like you're not interesting to me. So a thing that is really important to me is this filter system I've built where if I see someone confidently speaking incorrectly about a thing, not as like, I tried this and this is what my experience was, because that's very different. If you go try Upload Thing, my product, and you can't get it working and have problems and give me feedback as I am coming to you inexperienced, here's how it felt to me, here's my understanding.
Right.
That's different from, oh, haha, you're wrong because thing I don't understand.
Okay.
If you can't distinguish between those things, take some social classes.
Okay.
Like it'll help a lot. You'll be amazed how much a therapist can help with these things. But the point I'm trying to make is if you have these things that are known truths, that aren't like different opinions, but are facts that exist, that are played out in the course and information that is known, and you choose to operate against those, you are acting in bad faith and you have no place in my life. I will never listen to you for feedback.
Okay.
So a lot of the people that I've blocked and muted on different platforms or hidden from my channel comments, this is all for this particular reason. It's because I don't see you as a valuable source of signal in my life. It doesn't mean you can't talk. You can go talk shit on Reddit or wherever else all you want. I'm not trying to ban you from the internet. I'm trying to ban you from my feedback system.
Right.
Because I rely on people who get it to change shit. I've had times where somebody left a comment that I thought was kind of rude on my video, and I went and clicked to see what other comments they left, and all their other comments were really positive. And I was like, oh, fuck, I might have fucked up here and unlisted the video immediately.
Okay.
Like a random commenter who I didn't recognize. I was like clicking, it's like, oh, they must be a shit, I'm going to ban. Wait, they've been really supportive of me in the past. Fuck, did I overstep here? And I unlist just in case send it to some friends, get some feedback, maybe re-edit, change some things up, and then post it again.
Right.
But if you leave a rude comment on my video and I check and you've left rude comments on my last 5 videos, you're gone.
Right.
And to be clear, I don't delete comments. I hide from channel. So if you see your comment disappear, that means YouTube deleted it, not me. And I'm so tired because I've had people like go on long ass rants about how I'm censoring my community or whatever that I can see, which means I didn't censor them because I've never once hit the delete comment button. I often hit the hide from channel button.
Okay.
And you'll still see the comment if I hide you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's one question I did have, like, all these bad faith actors, like, regardless of like, eventually you're going to post enough, you're going to get big enough to have bad faith actors come into your comments, talk shit. Do you feel like your content, whether it's because of the style, whether it's because of what you cover, do you feel like you get more of these like bad actors like trying to fuck with you?
It has to be me.
Okay.
None of those other things are what matters. It is me. It's a combination of the way I present myself and my opinions. If I'm confident enough to talk about it, I'm confident enough to talk about it without too much nuance.
Okay.
If my takes are more nuanced on things, like there are things that are inherently nuanced, like all the startup conversation. It's part of why I don't talk about it as much is my takes aren't super hot beyond most accelerators suck. I'm trying to be nuanced and reasonable with those because there's a lot of variation there. But a lot of what I talk about is coming out of either a deep understanding or a deep frustration from an understanding. And when I take those hard stances, it's meant to correct something that's going wrong.
Yep.
Something that I perceive as just misinformation being spread. I love talking about the things that are being treated with nuance that aren't nuanced.
Okay.
Like mobile app development frameworks. If you think Flutter is a good solution for your problem and you're not building a game, you're probably wrong.
Okay.
It is. I hate to just keep dunking on Flutter, but it's such an easy target for this particular type of thing because Flutter is a game engine masquerading as an application development ecosystem.
Okay.
It is literally an abstraction like similar to Unreal Engine or Unity that has screenshots of random iOS like UI in it that they stitch together to make it look like a real iPhone app. But then like accessibility is broken, screen readers are broken, there are hacks to fix it, but they don't actually work. Random animation, jank, and stutter happens all the time, even though it's a thing it's supposed to solve. When new features or new ecosystem changes, like Flutter will never have liquid glass support, so the apps will never look right on the iOS 26 and onwards because they built it via screenshots, and it's a lot harder to handle the unique opacity behaviors that way. They're not literally PNGs, so I'm sure the comment's about to be there, but the concept stands. It's a bad solution for building apps. You can't build a good app with it, so I'm going to say that. And that's going to inherently piss people off because they have an emotional, personal attachment. A lot of these people have built their career around the solution. And I think what hurts them the most is if I was saying things that were obviously false, no one would give a fuck.
Okay.
The fact that my controversial takes are semi-obviously true is the problem. The fact that most companies shouldn't have 10 people dedicated to managing their servers in the cloud is objectively true. If you can pay $50K to a cloud company to do it, or you could pay $200K times 5 to a team to do it, one of those is responsible and one of those gets you points on Twitter.
Right. Okay.
That is the thing I come out against that gets me into shit a lot is when I see people taking obviously wrong stances when you think about it at all, I will gladly come out and put my foot down. And that pisses people off a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like even what you were saying about like being a content creator and a founder, like that, it's like you said, it's like a semi-obvious truth that if people were in your shoes, I think they would see. But the fact of the matter is a lot of the people, for example, that might be playing the status game or want to be in a position that you're in or even wish that they had access to what you had because they believe it would solve the problems that they're facing. Like things like that, I think are particularly controversial.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember at this point. Stop getting advice from people who want what you want. Get advice from people who have what you want. Because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of carts being pushed from behind by horses where the person managing the cart is shouting like, look, see, this can work. I'm moving. We're going like 2 kilometers a day.
Right.
Like, you can move like this, see? They don't have what you're looking for. And the people who actually have it, if you talk to like exited billionaire founders, none of them are saying you should be focusing on social media. None of them are saying that your goal should be to drop out of high school and get into YC. They're saying that you should work on yourself and the things that you're building. And when you have something you want so badly, this is what will happen. Something I should have talked about before, I didn't want to be a founder. I actively didn't. I disliked the startup world for most of my time in college and at Twitch, and even for a year after Twitch. Startups were not for me. I disliked them. I did it because the things I wanted, specifically I wanted a better creator tooling ecosystem, because I was pissed for my time at Twitch when I didn't get to build it, and I thought I would. And I wanted that so badly that I was doing it anyways. Not as a startup, just doing it myself, while applying to work at other companies.
Right.
And of the 3 companies I was interviewing at, 1 declined me, 2 gave me really good offers, but the founders of all 3 said, I think you should just go do a startup, Theo. You should go build your own thing. And then I still didn't do it. But my good friend from Twitch, who I almost made a company with because I liked him so much, him and I had a sit down because I was working on this WebRTC stuff, and I showed it to him. He's like, how much do I have to pay you to quit your job and work on this full time? Not as like my employee, but like as an independent contractor, because we need this so badly for what we are doing at our creator company.
Right.
And that's when I begrudgingly turned it into a real company and incorporated, and then Hail Married some applications to some accelerators. I got declined from South Park Commons, and then got into YC a week later.
Okay.
So once again, all of the other accelerators suck. But the point of this is that I didn't want to be a founder. I had to be.
Okay.
And that's why it worked. It's not because I wanted it. It's not because I dreamed of doing this thing this way. I actually was kind of opposed and a little bit repulsed by the idea. I really did not want to go down this path. And then I had the hardest ego death, which is I no longer have a person to blame.
Okay.
Up until that point, especially for the last 2 years before, I'd had so many instances where I was being blocked on somebody else, usually above me, sometimes around me, but almost always there was another party screwing me over, be it a really bad exec or some misalignment on the charter that was causing my team to have to work on shit they shouldn't. I was regularly blocked and would just get really frustrated with whoever was blocking me. Now I'm the one who blocks.
Right.
And it was one of the best things that ever happened to me to get over that, to no longer have someone else to blame ever. I haven't been able to blame someone else for anything wrong in my life for years now. Every single thing that goes wrong is 100% on me. And I love that. I love it so much. Even if my team makes a mistake, that's on me, because if I was more attentive, I was more involved in code review, if I put more time in the right places, I could prevent these things. So whenever we have any issue with T3 chat, whenever I have anything that goes wrong on my channel, whenever I piss off somebody, whenever I lose a sponsor, all of those are my fault and mine to own. And I love that. It took a while. I hated it at first. I had to get over a lot first. But that has been the best thing for me. So it ended up, even if this all failed, it was worth it for me to get over that part of myself. But that was the thing that had to change.
Do you think being put in that situation where you were the only one to blame, you had to take full accountability of everything that happened, do you think that taught you a lot about yourself and what you were actually interested in terms of what you want to do in the future and who you actually were?
No, because I still don't know any of those things.
Okay.
People seem to think I have some crazy long-term plan or roadmap here. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. I went with the flow until I got here. I didn't have some grand plan to be a successful founder. I didn't have some grand scheme to be a big YouTuber. I became a founder because I was bullied into it effectively. I became a YouTuber because I was going insane, not talking about these new tools and frameworks I was interested in. I was doing a lot of Twitter spaces with my friends where I would talk about them when I had 500 followers on Twitter. I built what became the T3 stack. I showed it to some friends in the space. They thought it was cool, but it was hard to just talk about. I wanted to show them. I wanted to stream a bit more too because I was building tools for streamers. Right. So I streamed myself building with the T3 stack for the first time. That was my first YouTube video. My second YouTube video was when Dan Abramov was asking to do mock job interviews because he thought it'd be interesting to see what someone like him being interviewed would be like. And I watched the other interviews he did and they all sucked. I've interviewed over 500 fucking people. I care a lot about interview practice and culture. So I asked if he would do one with me, even though I was a nobody. He kind of recognized me from the React community, so he said sure. I also had made a music recommendation to him a while before that he really liked, so he had positive association with me. Brought him on. No offense to the other creators who did their interviews. They made better videos than I did.
Okay.
I did a much better interview and had a lot more to teach about how to give a good interview.
Right.
Mine was a useful resource. The others were good content. And those are my first 2 videos, is a different way of building with modern technologies and the right way to do job interviews. that was obviously going to blow up.
Okay.
Even though the video sucked, I go back and cringe. I hate watching them because I was so bad at YouTube. But those existed because I had needs that needed to be met. I needed a video to explain my stack and the way I built, because just doing it in Twitter Spaces over and over wasn't clear enough. And now I had a thing I could link and show you. And the interview thing is because I wanted better education around how to give good job interviews, because I was so annoyed at that point. Those are 2 videos I made because I felt like I had to, not because I wanted to be a YouTuber, not for any other reason other than I'm annoyed about these things. I need these resources to exist. I'll make them myself. And then did.
Right.
And both of those videos are over 300K plays.
So it seems like a lot of the things that you do end up doing comes from this place of like endless need to do it. Like, for example, I spent the last couple hours with you. You showed me around the office, and it seems like every single thing in your apartment is completely intentional. There's like no stone left unturned, from cameras to microphones to networking to video setup. Where does that passion, like, where does that come from? The ability or the want to go so deep into everything you do? Because I feel like a lot of engineers sort of miss that. They don't have that. And it's something that I think a lot of people would like to cultivate. Did you just always have it? Is that
if I knew where this came from, I'd be way more successful.
Okay.
I can't help myself. I've just always been like this. I go way too deep on the things I care about, and I ignore everything else. I don't know jack shit about TV or film. I haven't watched a new TV show in probably 5 years. I watched a new movie in like 8. I just don't care. It's just not what I'm into. But the things I'm into, like YouTube, music, skateboards, tech, AV, software dev, frameworks, AI, I get into the things. And sometimes it actually really frustrates me. Like, I wasn't that into AI until end of last year. DeepSeek V3 just fucking blew me away, and that's when I started getting deeper, when I read their research papers, played with their models, and this was before even R1. I was like, holy shit, this is groundbreaking. That's why I ended up making T3 Chat as V3 Chat, because I hated the DeepSeek chat app. So I made my own, added other models, and spiraled from there. The thing that really frustrated me is there was a lot of AI influencers, and when I would read what they posted and what they talked about, I felt like I couldn't understand it. It was kind of gibberish. It took me 2 months to get ahead of most of them, and now it's like, oh, that's because it is gibberish. They don't even know what they're talking about. And the fact that there are people who've been doing this for 2 years that understand it worse than I did after 2 months pisses me off. It's one of the few things that actually aggravates me in the world, that there are these people who are seen as trusted resources of a thing that they don't understand.
Right.
It genuinely, deeply irks me that that is the case. And this happens with the startup world too. There's a lot of people who did not have successful businesses, who did not have successful exits, that give a lot of advice about how to run a company when theirs failed.
Right.
It's alarmingly common. And it's just, those things annoy me. But the passion, I don't know where it comes from. I think it's just me. Like,
okay.
I have enough things I like that there's no reason to waste time doing things I don't.
Okay.
Like, there's enough shit that's going on that I care about, that I'm invested in, that any time spent on other things is wasted time.
Okay.
But at the same time, there are things like I have to do all the paperwork for my company still. I have to run a lot of shit for my business. Okay, there's 2 tangents I want to make sure we can go down now that I'm here. The first is like how I think about hiring, and the more important one to like better answer this question is how can you somewhat force this yourself? Because I learned this tip from someone, and it helps me a bit, but I've seen it help others way more.
Okay.
I'll start with that. Make sure we get back to the hiring one. So, cringe as it is, this was a Sam Altman tweet that I was really impressed with, that I have sent to a lot of others, that has helped them a lot too. I can't remember the exact wording, but it was along the lines of, I started asking myself, or it was someone else told him to do this, and the quote was, ask yourself what someone with 10x more agency would be doing right now.
Okay.
And then do that.
Yeah.
So if you were 10 times more hardworking, if you were 10 times more likely to do the thing you need to do, just having more agency with shit that matters, if you were 10 times better with that, what would you be doing right now? Then go do that. You don't need the agency to operate like you have it. You need to think about what it would look like if you had it, and then do that.
Right.
I have it to an extent. Sometimes it brings me down things that don't matter. Like, I've spent way more time and money on cameras than I ever need to.
Okay.
As soon as I had the S5 2X, I could have been done. And I was for 2 years. And then the S1 came out, and I fell back down the rabbit hole because of who I am as a person. But caring enough to get started is important, and knowing what it looks like to care more is important. I think you can push through at that point. I don't know, because that's not how I work. I like the things I like, and the blessing I have isn't even that I'm good at getting into things. It's I'm good at tapping out.
Tapping out.
Yeah, knowing when I've gone far enough and this is a good place to stop.
Really?
That is my best skill by far.
Okay.
That is the thing that makes me special if anything does.
I feel like the point at which you tap out is farther than most people, like even experts in the field would ever even venture.
Yes, but then I'm good.
Okay.
And that's what's fun. Like I tapped out on cameras for 2 years. Once I got this camera that I have 2 of and one other with the same sensor in it, it's like, oh, this solves all the problems I had with cameras. I don't have to be watching camera reviews anymore. I don't have to be paying attention to what's going on with lenses anymore. My problem's solved. I'm done here. And then a thing I was excited about came out, and I like went down the rabbit hole a bit again. I still have all the knowledge I had, but I'm not building it anymore.
Right.
The first time I remember this happening was with keyboards. I was a big keyboard guy. I went all in building custom keyboards, making custom firmware, all that. Then I got the Vortex Poker 3, which was a 60%, so no 10 key, no D-pad or anything, just tiny little, like similar to MacBook keyboard, but without the D-pad at the bottom. Had really good default bindings, really good switches, and it was good enough. It was the first time I had a keyboard where I didn't want to change anything on it. And I immediately stopped caring about keyboards. That was the last good keyboard I like bought or was invested in. I bought like similar things just when they wear out here and there. And I'm trying the one with the like magnetic analog switches for gaming, and it's like slightly better for gaming, but way worse to type on. But I've literally bought 2 keyboards in 10 years after buying like 3 every quarter. Wow. Like I would almost buy a keyboard a month for years, and I went from that to 1 every 3 years, because once I had what I was looking for, I was done. I was like, cool, I'm good here. I'm happy. And this happens with the technology choices I make too. Like I spend a lot of time hopping between databases and solutions. I'm so happy with Convex now. I don't see myself switching anytime soon. I'm just less interested in other solutions now. When people come to me asking about these other 5 databases, the way I would have answered 3 months ago would have been to go look into them and then give my thoughts. Now I just can't be fucking bothered. I'm happy with where I'm at. Yeah. Most people tap out way too early. The remainder almost never tap out at all. I'm very fortunate to be somewhere between where I'll hit a point of like satisfaction, content with where I'm at, and then I'm done. It's not that I've lost interest, it's that I've lost agency to keep going further.
Okay. And how does that tie back to hiring?
The hiring was the other tangent I want to go on, which is the like mostly doing things I love. This can become a mistake really quickly, because if you outsource the things you don't like doing, you will be a shit manager, you'll be a shit recruiter and hirer, you will be really shit at giving feedback and making sure things are going well, and you'll have no insight on that part of the business. If you hate doing sales emails, you will hire a salesperson, be a shit manager for them, pay no attention at all. When they churn in 6 months, you'll have no idea what happened. But if you like engineering and hate sales, hire an engineer. You'll be a great manager for them. You're going to live vicariously through them because you don't have to do code anymore. They're doing the code. And now you have to go do the other things that you've been putting off, like doing sales emails. And that helps so much with like the way you think about what you do. Hire when you would miss doing it,
right? Not
because you don't want to do it.
Interesting. So a lot of the things you do go down like are things that you actually hate dealing with in the first place.
Yes, but in a different way. Like it's not the same level of obsession. The best example I have of this is editing video. Okay. I did not like editing video much. I knew how to do it. Like I was editing skate videos when I was a kid forever, but I didn't care for it. And I'm a busy CEO. I have a channel that's doing well. I can't be editing my own videos. So I had an old friend come in and edit my videos for me. He wasn't technical, but he like knows computers pretty well, like wrote some scripts for his GTA hacks here and there. Sure. Did a pretty good job of editing my videos, but I just fully got detached from my channel and what made it work and how it ran. I still did half-ish, actually I did all the thumbnails myself until somewhat recently, but I didn't do the editing at all. I just threw a VOD at him and said, make this a video. Yeah. And it was not a good experience for him. It wasn't a good experience for me. I brought him on to help me with sales at Ping until Ping, the product, failed, and I had to lay off a bunch of people, watch my startup video for that. And at that point, I didn't have the budget to justify bringing him back on for editing. And also, like, even just when I hired him, I didn't have him as an editor anymore. So I started editing my own videos because they needed to be done. I had to. And then I fell in love with editing. Really? I will be editing video way past me being on camera. I will be editing video, like, realistically speaking, I probably got 3 to 5 years on camera in me left. I'll be editing until, like, the fucking day I die. I actually love video editing now. It became a thing I never thought I'd care about that I really genuinely enjoy doing.
Okay. Which part of the process? Because I know you mentioned FaZe does a lot of...
I've edited 2 videos in the past, like, 6 months. I don't get to do it at all anymore. Got it. And I had hired and let go of like 4 editors up until FaZe. Got it. And after letting go of like the last one, I just did all the editing myself again.
Right.
FaZe had hit me up when I was first looking for an editor, and I didn't even see the DM because I get too many DMs. He had hit me up much later about a random skateboarding thing. He was like, get back into skating. I was like, oh, that's a really cool DM to get, and just chat with him a bit. Scroll up in our DMs. He's like, wait, you hit me up for editing. I'm so fucking busy right now. I love editing. I'll miss it a lot. You seem cool. Down to come in and help a bit. And the fact that this is the first time I brought on an editor when I liked editing made all the difference in the world. A lot of it is FaZe. He is uniquely fucking incredible. He's one of the hardest workers, most consistent, motivated people. Like, if a thing needs to be done, it will be done. Yep. And it will be done as quickly as reasonably possible. Like, dude was moving and still got 2 videos out during the move. Jesus. I don't know how he operates the way he does, but he's fucking exceptional. The thing that made it work is a combination of him being exceptional and me finally caring enough to be a good person to work for. I was, you'd have to ask him. I can't say confidently myself, but from the last couple times I've checked in and from what I've heard from others, he thinks I'm like the best boss ever. And is so absurdly grateful for getting to work with me. He sees it as me giving him an opportunity. I fucking don't. He earned it harder than anyone. But a lot of why it works is that I get excited when he does exceptionally well. Like when I see a new style of intro that he cuts that looks way better, I see him like, holy shit, how'd you do this? And he sends me like the screenshots of Final Cut and like shows you the plugins he used. And we get to go toe to toe with editing stuff here and there too. Where like I'll do a video like once every month or two and he'll watch it, obsess over the details and try to copy parts of what I did and use that in his own work. And then I'll see stuff he does and either steal from him or send him the asset and make him do it for me. It's such a fun give take. Even if I'm not doing it every day, I'm a better boss because I want to be doing it every day and I can have better conversations. And if you're an engineer that's had a job before, I hope you never had a boss that isn't technical because it fucking sucks. To have a boss who doesn't understand code as a coder. Yeah. And you go to them and you're like, I just spent the last week re-architecting this system. I changed all these things. Our SLAs are 15% better. We now have 3 nines of uptime. I can contribute much more easily. We killed all these old dependencies. I'm so pumped we got this done. And Ross is like, oh, cool. When's that ticket going to get closed? It's the worst feeling in the world. It really is. And I think you're destined to do that if you're too focused on getting the things you don't like doing out of your way instead of getting the things you do like doing out of your way so you can go fix the things you hate.
Right. Well, I think it's undeniable that like everything it seems like you're doing you enjoy like immensely, and I think that's something that's a really big accomplishment. I think a lot of people would sort of love to be in a position or be in a position where they could do the same thing that you're doing. And I know it's like one thing I wanted to touch on is like your advice, not just like for tech, not just for engineers, but like for people finding out what they want to do other than like, would you say just trying shit and like following whatever they're actually interested in is like, sounds like how you did it. Do you think that's the right way to go about it?
Yeah. It's most people either plan too much and ship too little or ship too much and plan too little.
Okay.
Violently oscillating between the two will always be the strategy, but it should be driven by building and executed by thinking. But like, I think the best way to get started with anything is to go try it.
Okay.
Be a little analytical to figure out what is and isn't working. If you hit a wall, take a step out and think through what the wall is and why you hit it, and then try to power through it once you understand it better. But the vast majority of people either start with planning and then execute and end up spending too much time in planning and never execute, or only execute, don't plan, and just run into walls over and over. Sometimes they power through, usually they don't. But starting with execution, hitting a wall, planning it as little as possible to get around it, and then executing again. Like doing that over and over will get you to much better places much faster. You'll learn more, you'll be more successful, you'll just be generally happier too.
Okay. And to be clear, this is like general life advice. This isn't just like, planning and executing shipping startups or anything.
Yeah,
like
this is how I do everything. Yeah, and if it always comes back to a thing you wish existed, like every video on my channel is a video that if someone else had done it, I would have watched.
Right.
Every product I build is a product if somebody else had built it, I would have used it. Every piece of advice I give is advice that if I was given 5 years ago, I probably would have ignored, but it would have haunted me some amount.
Okay.
The goal here is to just do things that meet my bar.
Right.
Which mostly just means I'm really... It's... trying to the right way to put this point. I am both really self-critical and really not in a way. Where on one hand, I'm good at realistically critiquing myself under the lens of a consumer of my stuff because I watch so much YouTube. I can watch one of my videos and not see it as my video, which is so good, so helpful. But on the other hand, I'm very like self-aware of like my biases, my tendencies, my interests, and I use that to make better content, to make things that meet the interests that I have.
Okay.
So on one hand, I am placating myself directly. I am trying to make content targeted to me as a person. On the other hand, I can remove myself from my persona and consume my content and be like, I can tell you how many times I've been shown, like somebody's posted a quote from me. And I was like, that's a banger quote. Wait, you're saying I said that?
Yeah.
I had no memory at all of saying the
Okay.
thing. But that's just how I operate. I do the things that I want.
Okay.
The things that I wish existed, the things that I need in my life, I do that. And that drives me to good shit most of the time.
Last question I have for you. I'm curious, what is something that you want to talk about, you wish someone would ask you, that you think people should know, and nobody's asked you, you haven't had a chance to talk about it?
There's a ton of silly ones. There's one that I've snuck into some shit, but no one's asked with a platform. I get asked occasionally on the line. It's how'd I get good at public speaking and like just talking these things out?
Okay.
And it ties back to the last thing a bit. Editing.
Okay.
There is no better way to humble yourself and better understand how you are perceived than to edit your own videos for a while.
Yeah.
You will become hyper aware of every filler word you use, of everything of everything that you mispronounce, of every stammer like I just did there. Make sure you leave that in for the edit.
Okay.
You become hyper aware of how you speak and how you're perceived. And you will immediately start to course correct accordingly because you'll be thinking in terms of what is this going to be like to edit. And now I'm at a point where if I am public speaking, like I'm in front of a mic on a stage, I'll instinctively do the thing I do when filming, where if I pronounce one word wrong near the end of a sentence, I'll go, and then go all the way back to the start because it makes the edit easier.
Right.
And that makes me actually kind of worse at speaking on a stage, but it makes me way better at filming and recording, and generally also better at just having a casual conversation. Like, you were talking to me for a while at our table before doing all this. Am I talking any differently than I did at the table?
It's the exact same.
I am who I am.
Yeah.
But my ability to get the idea out of my head got much better when I started editing my own videos. I'd go as far as to say that, like, as much as I like shit on the idea of most people being a creator, it will help a lot as long as you like do these details yourself, just to get like, it will get you better at speaking. So if that's a thing you want, that you really want to improve at, you want to just be easier to understand, making a small YouTube channel with no expectation for it to be successful at all, so that you can just talk about things you care about, edit them yourself, and get better at presenting your ideas, that is inherently really valuable. And it's also why every AI video editing startup makes me want to blow my brains out.
Okay.
Every 2,000 sub YouTuber that's trying to hire an editor is a fucking moron. And why the vast majority of content that I see random dev people make is utter garbage, because they're all trying to avoid the thing that's scary, which is listening to their own voice. Right. Why the fuck are you making me listen to your voice if you're not willing to do it? You need to be the first customer for everything you do. You need to be the first user, the first listener, the first fan, the first consumer of every fucking thing you do. And for me, editing helped me so much in understanding both what was good about my content, more importantly, what wasn't. And I became much easier to understand, just way better at speaking in general. That's part of why I hate watching my old videos. I was horrible at speaking. And I just got good at it because I did it a bunch. I edited it a bunch. I became really self-aware of those things.
Right.
And I've given this advice to some really big YouTubers. I should get her permission to name drop, because there's a really big one that has been like, she came up to an event that we were at together crying because a month or two before we had done a call because she was struggling with her YouTube a bunch.
Right.
And she had like a team of editors and all this shit. I was like, I hate to tell you this because it sucks. You have to fire everyone.
Yeah.
You have to do your own thumbnails for a bit. I fucking love thumbnails. I have so much fun doing thumbnails. I miss it a ton. I've made over 3,000 thumbnails in 4 years. It's insane. I love it. But you have to do your own thumbnails. You have to do your own editing, plan your own topics, figure this out yourself, because you don't understand what does and doesn't work for you right now because you're so removed from the process.
Yeah.
By the way, it'll help you with your speaking too. It's like a small aside from it, but the main thing is you need to understand your content pipeline better. She came out to me crying because she had a really thick accent and still does to an extent. But all of a sudden, she was so much easier to understand. She'd gotten so much better at speaking in literally a month. And it like had an emotional impact on her. When she saw me, it like hit her how much better it was, because she had spent the whole day at this event talking to people and didn't feel like she had to repeat herself anymore like she always had to. And like you just get used to when people don't understand you. They're like, yeah, because they didn't quite hear what you said and they're tired of asking to hear it again. Fixing that changed her life. And then separately, her boyfriend came up to me, not knowing this had just happened. It's like, by the way, thank you so much for getting her to start editing her own videos. She's like, she feels so much better about how she talks now. It was like, that was not the reason I gave her that advice. It just happened to be a really cool side effect of it. So that's the one random thing I can think of when you ask for something I don't get asked about a lot. The amount that editing helped me speaking is hard to put into words. And that's like, other than maybe like getting on Accutane and fixing my teeth, that is like, those are the three things that have given me the confidence I have today. And like, why I'm like proud of how I present myself as much as I am now. I am way easier to understand and I don't see the flaws that I saw before. And those things are probably a big part of why people hate me now, because it gave me confidence that I didn't have before. But it's a really cool thing to have, to always have confidence that the way you phrase the thing is understandable. And then it has the fun side effect of, if somebody still doesn't understand it, you start to think they're operating in bad faith and you get annoyed. But that's a whole separate rant I could do another 2-hour podcast on. So, but yeah, get good at speaking if you care about it, and editing for yourself will help a ton. If you're hiring an editor before you're making money on your channel, you're making the same mistake I made 4 separate times. Get good at the details if you want to be good at the thing.
Theo, thank you so much, man.